Good morning. This is Aries 4, Monday morning. Can someone please tell my husband to start making the bed?
We just finished the past year and Pisces is ended, so the death of the year is over and now we're entering springtime in Aries. There's a reason why it's a fire sign. There's a reason why you have this illumination that happens. It's because the sun is coming back to the earth. It's heating us back up. We're starting a new year. The cycle continues in our spiritual journey, and the path of liberation can start to be walked on. Eventually, as you examine your thoughts, you'll find that you have these root desires, this lower self that wants things like, pleasures, just to stay inside where it's nice and cool, to eat all the food, to have all the sex, to have all the money, whatever it is. Those impulses start to be exalted through the natural world. The idea of springtime is that unbridled sexual energy for creation, for rebirth, for a new perspective, for the death of the old and for the bringing in of a new, that want to push the thing that's inside of you out into the physical world to give your spirit form. And the only way to give your spirit form is to do proper thinking so that you can have proper action. And then through those things, your spirit is enlightened, right? I have a pile of wood behind me that needs to be chopped up. I need to process it. Think of this giant limb as unkept thoughts. They run wild, It starts down here at this end, and as it grows, the idea changes and it splits. And we can see that it came to an end here, but it kept going. But then the idea changed again, and then it changed again, and then it probably changed again. I'm gonna process the wood down so that it's in a more burnable state, and that is a good representation of what you have to do with your thoughts. You can have these thoughts that run wild, this huge limb, and all of it can fuel you. All of it can burn. But the proper processing of this limb could actually provide fuel to a fire that will last longer if we take the time to think about how we're using the limb. If you have a thought that's running wild and you never cut off the parts that are not useful and introduce those into your mind and into your thinking so that you can use whatever sort of desire or whatever sort of energy you cut off from those other thoughts. If you never transmute those energies back into you, if you just let your thoughts run wild, you'll just eventually have an overgrown forest. You have to be able to cull the bad and draw out the good, and that takes examination, that takes action, it takes effort, and it all starts with making your bed. Sometimes you have to take care of yourself, and that resurrection, that rebirth that's going to happen in Aries, they are talking about the world around us. And if you aren't living philosophically with the environment around you or spiritually with the environment around you, you're missing out on a huge part of the entire thing. The entire solar year is a depiction of you. The reason why people get seasonal depression in the wintertime, it's not because that's the only time they get depressed. It's because the sun leaves us. It's because there's a part of you that has to die in the wintertime so that it can be reborn now in the springtime in Aries. And you can definitely feel that springtime is here, that the revival has happened. It's time for us to resurrect. It's time for us to regenerate, to bring new ideas, to bring new perspective, to rediscover our soul. Look at all these unkept thoughts. Can shove old pieces of wood into like this, break them off, Now you got smaller bits. Start making a pile over there. Pretty still intact. You want to rip off all the smaller stuff so that there's like the trunk of it left, and then we'll process it down. So I'm going to use a hand axe and just start taking off some of these limbs. Whenever you're using anything like this, you're going to be swinging towards your legs, okay? You want your legs to be together, and you want to swing out and away, okay? Never have your body in the line of fire for the axe head, okay? If you're going to walk with it, put it in your hand like that, up into your shoulder, hold it like this. Anyway. Pop right off. Now we can use the wood that we chopped up as fuel for this fire. The tree is an excellent example of our thoughts or our desires. From the tree of desire grow, or maybe, yeah, from these trees grow thoughts in the form of branches. If the branches are against our truest intention, they fall off and they create waste on the ground. You have to gather those thoughts up and burn them away. But you can actually cut off these bad thoughts at the source. These trees in our backyard need to be pruned. Well, if we don't prune them, like last year, they'll droop and they might even die. See, there's actually a ton of dead tree here and only a little bit of green. Even though there's all this dead stuff here, the tree is still trying to be a tree. It's still trying to grow. It takes work and effort, some force to come along and prune away the dead so that new life can be. And that's what we're going to be for the tree, and that's what you have to be for yourself. Think of your mind as like a garden of trees. All of them have different base desires, base emotions attached to them. Love, safety, family, money, power, whatever your thoughts are, you know? And you can have bonsai trees of these lower desires that you're constantly pruning and shaping and making small. And you can have massive oak trees for the things that you love and desire. But it takes the gardener to go through and say, okay, well, we have to take these ones out. It's not very in season. We have to chop this one away. It's dead. During this time of the year, rebirth and regrowth is a huge motif just in everything. You see it in everything, in the plants, in the trees, in the birds. The insects are coming back. You're feeling probably a little friskier. That was presumptuous of me, but that's the springtime. It's all about growing back, coming back alive, and turning back on. There's also something that comes with that, though, and that's examining your thoughts, right? Like last week, finding the dead stuff, and now we have to cut it away. And once you cut away some of that dead, you can see the tree that it's actually growing out of. And you might be able to examine where some of your thoughts and ideas come from. And a lot of them are going to come from base desires. Greed, lust, sloth, gluttony, wrath, pride, and what's the last one? Envy. Imagine you have trees of those in your garden, right? It takes you cultivating those trees for them to actually make fruit, right? If you just let those things fester and you never prune them away, then the limbs fall to the ground and they clutter your garden. And if you never clean the garden, then you never burn away the drops. It's Isaiah 1:25. I will turn my hand against thee and burn away the drops completely. You will be free of impurities or something like that. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about those buildup and that root desire that you have kept unchecked and unbalanced for so long. You have to prune away the trees so that new growth can happen. It has to happen now, though. You can't wait, because this thing is going to fruit in a couple of months. And if I don't prune it now, there's no way that the fruit is going to be good, because it's going to be supporting all of this. It's just going to be trying to survive, not even live. So we have to We have to do the work now in order to reap the benefits later. You have to sow your fields. So, it's the same flowers and a fruit tree. This area could be just like my house. Look at this. This could be your mind. A garden of flowers and a beautiful fruiting tree. So often, we spend our entire lives not thinking about what sort of trees we're planting in our minds. Dude, I'm just biking. This just showed up. Isn't that awesome? I've been drifting for so long. And now, even whenever I'm doing the thing that I want to do, something inside of me says, don't do it. It's too scary. It just wants to curl up and stay under the covers, sleep, eat, smoke, not even think about it. Yesterday, that's what I did. Today, I squeezed in a drawing lesson in like 20 minutes. That's all it takes, man. That's all it takes. Why am I so resistant to nourishing me? Each failure should just be another stepping stone. I can't let yesterday trip me up. I failed yesterday, and I'll probably fail again. You should just be prepared for those. I've had a lot of failures, and it's always come back to me giving into my base desires, my lower self, and being lazy and not doing hard work, and never continuing to do the work, never showing up, just being self-critical and just falling down like a rabbit hole of excuses. I'm so tired of drifting. I just need to be better. Everybody has their vices. Everybody has things that they do that they wish they did a little bit less. What are base desires? What is that lower self that you're feeding whenever you're giving into these root desires? That feeling whenever you wake up in the morning and you just want to check your phone? That's a base desire. You've had a long day and all you want is a tub of ice cream? That's a base desire. Whenever you went on a date and you didn't get to go home with that person, so you self-pleasure? That's a base desire. You're looking for satisfaction. You're looking through gratification, but instead of finding gratification or satisfaction through means of the things that you love and the things that you like, or the things that speak to you. The base desires that are attached to me the hardest are laziness, gluttony. Midnight hits, I gotta eat like a metric fuck ton of M&Ms. And you know, even like getting up and doing this, just going for a walk, it's a struggle every day. It looks really easy on camera, but there's part of me that wakes up every day with me and goes, you don't have to record today, and wants to give up. Only through changing my thought patterns, only through realizing that like those lower desires is the thing that is telling me to give up, just because it wants instant gratification. That it just wants an immediate satisfaction. And if it can't get it, then it'll start trying to convince you that there's no way we could get any satisfaction other than instant relief. It just takes time. It takes examining. It takes being truthful with yourself, being kind of scrutinizing on yourself. I'm not saying all of this stuff to be like, I am the pure white, walking sinless through the meadow. That's not how it is at all. Everybody has their downfalls. But you can avoid your own mental traps. You can avoid that base desire to seek gratification, immediate gratification. You can do all of that through understanding your own cycles, trying to better connect with you, and just not feeding the most pleasurable thing. Whenever you start to pleasure seek, you stop caring about the soul of anything. You only care about the results of everything. It's not the destination, it's the journey. How we end up at universal oneness is your own path, and your own decisions are going to get you there. One of the steps that you're going to have to take is not glorifying the lower you. See, because that's the thing, is that the lower side of you is not just going to die. It's not just going to atrophy and go away. If anything, it's going to just get worse. But much like pruning a tree and tending a garden, you just have to be able to step away from it and say, where can I trim these thoughts down? Where can I break old patterns, old cycles? Where can I get rid of the stuff that I don't need anymore, separating the wheat from the chaff? And how do I find my own gold? Because that's what your lower desire does. It says, right now it feels great. Right now it feels amazing to sit here and just be high or be drunk, or to just be offline, to not be thinking, to let somebody else do the thinking for us. It feels amazing because you get to relax. Life is so hard, and now my brain gets to calm down and I can just let go. But it's that same part of you that after you've not accomplished anything, it goes, oh my God, didn't you know all of this was going to happen? How could you just lay around and not do anything? Oh my God, like, we didn't do anything. Giving into your base desires, not always the best thing. There's a big chunk of this that I'm missing here. The big chunk of it all is that a balance is required. If you say, I'm not going to do this at all, I'm cutting it out completely, nuh-uh. It's going to be the hardest thing for you. It's going to show up all the time. It'll just be there. Always. Popping its head back up. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Hey, look at me, I'm back. Wouldn't it be cool if you did that? There are certain cosmic laws in place. And whenever you push things away, they really want to come back to you. Okay? You have to just accept it. Let those thoughts, those feelings wash over you. Develop a plan. Try to come up with active strategies to get rid of those feelings. Examine those feelings and say, why do I feel this way? And try to find steps that will lead you out of it. And I think the first one is just self-examination. Just take some weeks and start examining your daily. What do I wake up like? How do I fall asleep? Did I snap at Susan whenever she told me she couldn't go to lunch with me because I was pissed? Like, a lot of these energies, a lot of these thoughts, these feelings that live within us are not our own. No external force that can fix the inside you. It doesn't matter how much you drink. It doesn't matter how much you smoke. It doesn't matter how much you do whatever. Okay? Satisfying the body will never satisfy the soul. You have to find things that satisfy all three aspects of your consciousness in a more full way, in a truer way to you. And the problem with all of that is that nobody can tell you how to do it. You're going to have to figure it out on your own. And one of the very first steps is going to be examining who you are, what you like, your thoughts and your habits and your personal cycles, and doing what Jung calls the shadow work. At some point, you're going to have to turn around, and you're going to have to survey the entire shadow. And you're going to have to pull your flashlight out, and you're going to have to start walking back through the shadow. And it's important to start now. I didn't film at all yesterday. And the reason why is because I gave in to my base desires. I gave in to laziness. There was a little voice in my head, and he's always chapping away. He says, you don't have to do breathing. You don't have to do yoga. You don't have to film today. Just take a rest day. You've been doing a lot. Doing something's better than doing nothing. But professionals show up for work. If I was sick, I would still go down to the bar. If I want this to be my job, I need to treat it like it's going to eventually be my job. I need to stop slacking. I have to break my cycles of laziness. Laziness has got you by the balls. Says, hey, we can just sit right here. Seems pretty fucking chill. Nobody's yelling at us. You're not having to think at all. You can just continue to do this. But nothing great's ever come out of that. Nobody has ever started a great story with, I was sitting on the couch and then greatness happened. It was usually, I was struggling a lot, I was working my ass off, and then a miracle happened. Another Thursday, another prep day. This is where we put our prep stuff. Bottle of Tito's. Gone into the kitchen.
I don't know what you're doing.
Just getting B-roll.
Why do you say B-roll?
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 Yeah,
I thought you were saying B-roll like as a joke instead of saying viral.
Yesterday, I was pretty tough on myself about being a drifter, about drifting around. And while I do think that there is a lot of drifting, I don't think that I'm a drifter. The thing that Napoleon Hill says in that book is that anybody who has the capacity to think for themselves can never be a drifter. The thing that's inside of me that wants me to just continue to drift, to be lazy, to not get anything done, to not fulfill whatever my heart's destiny is, it really likes to just stay at home and not do any work. And so by doing the work, I kind of agitated that side of me. I brought it to the surface and now it was pissed, and I had to take a couple of days to really fight it back. There's a line in that book that says, once you find out what you want to do, be willing to sacrifice anything necessary to get there. And it's really easy for me to work for other people, but it's very hard for me to work for myself. I need to learn how to forgive myself, understand that the past versions of me will never be back, that those versions of me are gone, and that this is the new version of me. This is what I'm trying to become. And if I don't nourish it properly, and I don't give myself enough confidence or give myself enough slack or credit, I'm gonna burn out, because not forgiving yourself is the easiest way for you to experience self-destruction. It's very hard for me to want to forgive myself. I don't think that I'm good enough for anything. But maybe I am. Maybe I am good enough for everything. Something is in me right now, and I just have to run. So I'm gonna change into shorts, and we're taking off. Gotta get all the things and gotta get the fanny pack. Let's go. Am I what I want to be? Or have I just been giving in to lower desires this entire time? I think I finally figured it out. I was so depressed 2 days ago, but I think I got it now. What it means. I figured out Aries. I figured out Aries. And are you what you wanna be? Yeah. I forgot I just ate. Oh, my stomach feels like shit. I just felt like running, man. There's something in me. If you want a perfect Aries album, bam. It's straight into a cold shower. I'm not even waiting a second. Then I'm gonna do Wim Hof, then I'm gonna do yoga. Then I'm gonna make this goddamn bed. I'll be back. Pretty chilly. My phone is soaked. Oh. That's a made bed. Now I'm gonna take a nap on the floor right there. I just finished guided meditation with Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's talking about letting go of your past selves and repurposing that energy. And literally in my meditation, I was offering like effigies of old versions of myself to a great fire. At one point, something told me to just step back from the house, and I had to light it on fire. And it was a body, or not a body, it was a house full of these corpses that were all wrapped up. And I had lit the whole thing on fire. And as the bandages burned away, pieces of versions of me were lying underneath it, and some of them tried to get up and get out, but they were all too weak, and they couldn't make it through the door before like their ashen bodies collapsed. I'll never get any of those old versions of myself back. They can't ever come back, and I probably won't ever embody them again. And sometimes I feel a lot of guilt and fear and anger and resentment towards those past versions of me that didn't work hard enough, didn't work strong enough or smart enough. But all those past versions of me were working towards something that I didn't want. It's taken me a long time and many failures and lots of self-reflection to realize that I need to forgive myself, that I have to move on, that the fear that I fear or have of failure with this is actually just my brain working in the past saying we've tried all of these things before and they've all failed, so this one is probably just going to be like that. But this is a whole different thing. I'm a whole different person than I used to be. I don't have any fears about this. I only have fears about the past things that I did and how I know that those things turned out, using that information to justify giving up on this thing. Understand that I'm not killing those past versions of myself. They're already dead and gone. It's repurposing the energy that I've been giving those effigies of me, those corpses that are in me. Every time that I have that memory, I'm also bringing the emotion with it of failure, of fear, of a half existence. And whenever they come back, I'm literally moving into the past and embodying that. And I regressed this week into that modality of thinking, into that past version of myself that is afraid. Whenever I had been living in the present and not worrying about the future and not caring where I'm going, just that I'm on this journey, I am so excited to see what happens. And there's a part of me that desperately wants to control all of this And those are my lower desires. Feeding my fear, feeding my guilt, feeding this idea that I'm just gonna fail, being lazy, being unproductive, and drifting. Those are my lower desires. And whenever I give in to them, I become stagnant. And I'm sure you have similar lower desires, or you have other things, but you have to literally raise the consciousness up into you and use yourself as the conduit to a better future. And that seems so strange because you're like, I'm living now and the future is that way. But it's the want for control, the desire to control everything and make everything known, that is actually taking away any chance for something new or unknown to happen. I need to just do the work. I'm gonna have to let go and let go of those old versions of me that I've been so afraid to burn away. They define me in some sense, but not anymore. I was tested very, very rigorously. Excuse me. I was tested very, very regular. I was tested this past couple of weeks. I had stepped away from the shores that I knew into the waters of unknown, and the pool freaked me out, and I almost ran back the direction I came, but you cannot. You cannot. An older version of Tristan is dead and gone, and this one is the new one. I have to let go of the lower things that kept me in those cycles. We have to break the patterns, and we have to find a new way of living. And for me, this is going to be the new way of living.